let's get started today with your grids and Photoshop. So first, you can get to the daily planner for your class from the class website, as always, or if you have it bookmarked, you can open it. So I'm going to use the link from the 2D daily planner. I've put this in all of them. And this link here, if you click and hold, will bring up the folder of everybody's grids. These are all the ones I have that you either emailed me because you took a picture or the ones I scanned. Now you'll notice the ones I scanned are maybe a little clearer, a little whiter. Some of the ones are a little bit darker because they needed to, the light pencil needed to show up. They don't have your name on it, right? If you have your name on the picture, like on the piece of paper, and I scanned it, there's your name. Yay, Dylan, thank you. However, if you either didn't put your name on it or if you sent it in as a photo, these are the later ones, right? It may not have your name on it. If it wasn't like Giri, you can see the name in the picture. Some of these you can't. So you have to go looking for yours and then talk to your teammates to figure out which one is theirs. So they can find theirs and then tell you what number to go look for because they're all numbered separately. If I get any more, I'll add them in here. So once you find your grids, go ahead and download them. So what I've already done is downloaded, I picked 44, 45, and 48 because I wanted to show you what happens with one of the ones that the photo was sent in through a photo because it's not quite the same whiteness, and I want to show you how to adjust that. So once you've downloaded your files, right, there they are in my downloads, you can go ahead and open Photoshop. So if you haven't put Photoshop in your doc, you may want to. It's one of those things you may use. Or you could go to your applications and then go to Adobe Photoshop. Whether you have 2020 or 2021, doesn't really matter. Apparently, I have not yet updated. And you can go ahead and open from there as well. When this opens, it doesn't open a file. It just opens like, okay, I'm ready. Now tell me what to do. So it is pretty easy to open from here the files that you want to open in Photoshop. Okay, if you just click on the downloaded files and open them, you're going to be opening in Preview probably, and not Photoshop. You need to open them in Photoshop. So if you open from here and then go find them, you can open these like this. Ta-da! And they will open each in their own tab. Now this makes it pretty easy to work with. You can flip back and forth. You're going to use your grid. So I'm going to pretend I'm Eric. Eric, thank you very much for your donation here. And this is going to be my base layer. Okay, so I'm going to pretend if I'm Eric, this is my base layer. Then I'm going to go to my other partners' grids and I'm going to get the pieces I need to complete the grid. So I'm going to go over here to Corbin's, right? And I'm going to use this tool, right? The rectangular marquee tool or the rectangular selection tool, and click and drag right over the box of grid fill-ins that I need. So space and texture on those first three. Then I'm going to use copy and paste, right? So I can do Command C to copy, and I can go over here and Command V to paste. Now it pastes in the middle. Well, it's not where I want it. And I need to switch tools because I'm not selecting now, I'm moving. And you'll notice as you use the various tools over here in the sidebar that Photoshop is kind enough to tell you what it is they do. Now, hopefully some of the tools will look pretty familiar because the move tool looks like everybody else's move tool. And then we can put this over here. Now, it will fit perfectly if the two files are both scanned, right? If it's from a photograph, it may not fit perfectly and you may have to resize. You'll notice up here in the top, I have show transform controls. If I don't have those, I don't see that outline of what I just put there. So it can be hard to work with. So maybe make sure you check that show transform controls box. And you'll notice that where I pasted here, I pasted it, it became a new layer. Right? So this means I can move this around anywhere I want to. Dancing square. And then I can put it right where I want it, more or less lined up. And you can use your arrow keys too. If you're like, ooh, just move a little bit, that's fine. And then you're all set there. So I know this is Corbin's, right? So I can go over here, and if I double click into that layer 1, I can put Corbin 1. And then I'm going to go back here and see, okay, this is the second one. I'm going to, again, switch back to the rectangular marquee. Now see how there's marching ants here, the little dotted line? When I select again, those will go away and they will reselect over here. Ooh, so my selection, okay, actually, let me show you what happens when I do this really badly. So I select it, I'm like, okay, that's not what I want. I can, if I just want to move it, I can move it over and move it up with my arrow keys, and I can do a little bit better. I can move the whole selection around if I need to, but really this is going to get me a whole lot of extra space I don't want. So if I don't want that and I want to do another selection, I can either just go back and select again, or I can hit Escape or Command D. Yes, Command D. And that will deselect, and I can reselect just the square I need. So again, the more careful you are with your selection, the easier it'll be to paste into here and then move this down to this box here. And again, I can use my little arrow keys and I can be like, yes, please line up those lines. Whoa, just about, and back over this way. Okay, so things are looking pretty good. And that one's Corbin 2, right? There we go. And then we can go back and we're going to do one more. Okie dokie. Back this way and paste that in and move that into the corner. Okay, so try to be fairly neat about it. We don't have to be too neat. I mean, you could zoom in and be like, all right, how much is that grid lining up, and how much am I annoyed that when it doesn't? So that's up to you. But if we can get it to look like it fits, that would be fantastic. And this one over here is Corbin 3. Now, we have all 3 of Corbin's layers here. If we use the Shift key and we select all 3 of those, we can group those. So if we go to Layer and come on down to Group Layers, or you use Command G, we love the key commands, right? A little faster. You can do that, and you'll see it goes into Group 1. And again, Corbin. That's Corbin P layer, right? So all of this stuff is right there. And if you want to change the name of the background layer, you can put your name and that it is the base. Now, you'll see when I did that, it took off the lock here. We want to make sure that doesn't move around. Watch what happens. Be very amused, right? I'm in move mode. I can move that whole background around. That is really not what I had in mind. Command Z will undo that. And if we want to keep it locked, we just click on this little lock right here and you'll be all set. And now if you're like, okay, I don't want to move any of those either, we can click a lock on that one. Ta-da! So now those are in place. Now the third set here, we're going to select the bits and pieces. These are from a photograph. So you see the wrinkles, you can see the lines don't exactly line up. Not a huge deal. It just gives us a fun little challenge for those of you that are doing this. Now, you'll see that it's not exactly the same size, right? So you may have to use these controls in the corners to change the size so that it fits in there. When you're done changing the size, you have to either hit return or double click on the object to then be able to do anything else. If you just move it and then try to do something else and don't enter that change, Photoshop won't let you do anything. It's really frustrating. So there's one. Let's go get the other 2 before we do anything, because we're going to make them all match, more or less, the white tones, because right now the whites in these are a little bit gray. This scanner did a little bit better job with that, because that's what it's designed to do. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to move this up. Oop, about there. It is possible to like really mess this up if the dimensioning, like you can move the dimensioning. So try to keep it all square-ish. All right. And this one, okay, we need one more. And we're going to bring that down just a little bit. Okay. Copy and paste. Okay. So as a photo go, that's actually a pretty good photo of the grid in terms of keeping it fairly flat and not having a whole lot of shadows to have to deal with on this. So overall, not too bad. It's just that it wasn't exposed quite as brightly, right, with the contrast. So this group is Rio's. So we can relabel that. Then we need to make an adjustment. So that adjustment we can do with an adjustment layer. So if we go up here to layer and down to a new adjustment layer, we're going to work with levels. Now there are a bunch of different ways you could work. You can control any number of these things with adjustment layers. We're going to play with levels since the only thing we really want to change is the whites and maybe the grays. We don't have to worry about the color balance because I've already set that when I edited all of the files. So we are going to go into levels here, say okay, and you'll see that here are the adjustments we can make, and here's our adjustment layer. Now, I only want this to apply to Rio's layer, not the other two. So in order to get that to work, if I hold down the Option key while my cursor is right on that line, you'll see it change to this little box with an arrow. And if while that's happening I click, you'll see that that little arrow is here. And now these adjustments will only happen to this group, okay? So now that we have that, I can make my whites, and this is my white point in my histogram. You guys will learn lots more about histograms when we do more photo editing. I'm going to slide that white point down. So the white gets whiter sooner, right? And we can see that this makes this a little bit washed out, so we don't want to go too far. But then these are still a little bit on the gray side. So then we can go to the gray point, and maybe we can back that out a little too. So that's a little bit closer. And then these lines look really washed out. We want the black to be a little blacker, so we can move this up a squidge here, and maybe this back down here, and you'll see just sort of that balancing act. And just kind of eyeball it and make it match a little bit better. So that's the adjustment layer here with levels. And if we blink this eyeball, this is the visibility of any given layer, right? So if we blink that, we can see our before and after of just that adjustment layer. If we blink the whole Rio layer, then we don't see any of it. And the same thing with this one. So there's a couple of other things that as you're going along, you want to be able to see something or not see something. You're all set there. Okay, so once you have that, then I want to do one more thing. It's just an excuse here to use some text. So we can go over to the T, and that's our type tool. And then we can go ahead and click out a nice window up here. And I'm going to suggest, this is Eric's grid, right? And this is with Rio and Corbin. Okay. So then you can put that in the top and show me that you can use text as well and mix it up with the font and the color. We can, I don't know, move it around, pick a different color. Lovely. If you want to change it here, you have to have it highlighted, and then you can adjust the color to whatever it is you like. And just make it legible, please. That would be lovely. Big enough to see. That way, as I'm going through, it'll be easy for me to see who's working with whom. Now, last but not least, we're going to save the file. And this is a Photoshop file. This is different from a JPEG, right? So we're going to save here. And you're going to type this in. You can see I've done this once already. So go ahead and type in your name and that it's your grid and leave it as a Photoshop document. So that PSD is a Photoshop document. And you can save. Yes, yes. It won't say save again because we won't have done it already. And then we're going to do one more time. We're going to save as, and we're going to save as, and in this case I'm going to do with a 2. as a JPEG. So you can change that file type and the extension to JPEG, and you'll see the JPEG change right here, so you know you're on the right path. And then you can save that too. Okay? And that'll save a compressed file without the layers, but I want you to turn in the PSD file so I can see your layers and how it worked. For your blog, you may want to take a quick screenshot this way so we can see the finished grid, and also do a screenshot maybe of the layers over here so you can show me what that looks like for you with the work there as well. So those are 2 suggestions for what graphics might go in your blog post for today, along with anything else that we're doing. Okay, I think that's it. Go ahead, once you've saved everything, you can quit Photoshop, and then you can go back to the daily planner and see what else there is to work on today.